We're going to return to Proverbs, 28th chapter. But there's another feast day coming, and either myself or Pastor Hodge will do a teaching. And we'll get through that as well. We're going and we're growing, and I'm sure it seems slow and tedious. When you look at your own life, growth is slow. Improvement is slow, but it is improving. Sometimes when we get the results that we're in pursuit of, if it comes too quickly, there's some things we didn't learn. I'm going to say that again. When what you're in pursuit of comes too quickly, oftentimes we miss some lessons that went along with the manifestation of whatever it is that we're in pursuit of. So bear with us as he bears with us. And don't get discouraged. And let's be there for one another. All right, I'm going to start out with the translation that we're all familiar with. And then we will dissect it out of another version. The wicked flee when no man pursueth. And this chapter is concerning riches and obtaining wealth. Something that we could use. I know a lot of us have been taught that some people of wealth are wicked, or they got it by maybe dishonest means or whatever, and that's true to some degree, but not everybody that has acquired wealth has gotten it by less than honorable means. There are a lot of wealthy believers, and they, along with their wealth, they have virtue. They have integrity. They have all the good things that will allow them to use their wealth as they are directed and take care of their families. The wicked flee when no man pursueth, but the righteous are bold as a lion. For the transgression of a land, many are the princes thereof. But by a man of understanding and knowledge, the state thereof shall be prolonged. A poor man that oppresseth the poor is like a sweeping rain which leaveth no food. Now I was kind of happy to see this verse because I've shared with you in times past that in a lot of my studying, I see a lot of, it appears, let me put it that way, it appears that a lot of scholars view wealth almost with a negative connotation. But here, saying a poor man that oppresseth the poor is like a sweeping rain which leaveth no food. And, you've heard me say a lot of times, well, again, not all rich people are bad, and not all poor people are virtuous. Well, that verse was confirmation to me because a lot of times people will use their poverty as if it's a badge of honor. And a lot of people will have you think to love the Most High is to have no substance. And I'm not picking on other walks of faith, but some will even, take a vow of poverty, But that's because the way the scriptures were explained to them, it's almost like, well, the poorer you are, the closer you are to God. I mean, and I'm not throwing shade. I personally have sat under some of those teachings. I've visited churches. I've been in study groups, and that sort of thing wasn't stated outright. But here's how it was stated. Well, if you're always in pursuit of riches, that's your God. And so, at a young age, I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. Okay, so are you saying if I go after God, the community got to take care of me? The community going to pay my house note if I'm fortunate, or pay my rent? Am I to not be in pursuit of just trying to be a good citizen in the community by working? Even in the older Testament, what it said, a man that won't work shouldn't eat. And a lot of fences have been put around wealth and riches. I remember I was at a very large church, and a member gave a very large offering. And come to find out, the guy at the time was working for one of the beer companies or something. He was an executive at one of the beer companies. And I tell you, folks, that thing caused a big stink. Because half of the congregation was like, well, he worked for a beer company. We shouldn't take that. That money is, that's the devil's money. Money don't belong to anybody. If it's in your pocket, it's yours. And I mean, it caused some controversy because of the teachings that had gone on. And at the time, I was a captain, and I had 35 men under me. And I got to go in the counting room. I didn't get to unload the baskets, but the captains took the baskets in there, but we didn't do no counting. They had another group that did that. And I tell you, I don't know what they did with that check, but if I bet they probably didn't give it back. And you know, I didn't ask, but I mean, it caused a mess. I know of people that were working for, you know, things were so bad at one time. If you work for somewhere like Philip Morris, people would, you know, some church folk would, that's tainted money. But that's the way we were taught. You know, a good buddy of mine, his brother had a job. He was driving truck for one of the beer companies again. He quit his job. And the Most High had mercy on him, got him another nice position. And of course, those that had problem with wealth, that, well, see, you know, you stepped out in faith, and God blessed you. I want to say something about miracles. Saints, sometimes if we live our lives based on his teachings and instructions, we would not live our lives in such a way that we need a miracle. See, miracles come on the scene because we got something out of kilter. Heart is right, or heart means well, but the head is kind of jumbled up. Our understanding is kind of jumbled up. And you know, I'm telling you, a lot of believers got a problem if they have amassed any kind of wealth. You know, Now, there's nothing wrong with being humble. Not the kind of humility that we've been taught about with that either. Remember, being humble is doing the right thing at the right time. That's humility. Speaking up when nobody else will speak up. Not, oh, I'm just a weak worm in the dust. You know, that's not humility. That's plastic. If you have it in your heart to do what you can for the sake of humanity, I hope you get $1 trillion. It's better that believers have access to the wealth because they have a heart to share. But I want to say something about sharing because I've been in meetings, and you probably have too. And a lot of times they're of a business nature, and somebody will always stand up and say, well, this information is good, and what I've heard is good, but you ought to just give this away. And inevitably, about half of the crowd might think that she said something or he said something profound. Folks, when you don't, I want to, oftentimes, when something is just given to you, you really don't appreciate it. You really don't value it. But if you paid something for it, I don't know if any of you remember years and years and years and years and years ago, we were dealing with debt, and I put these notebooks together. And they were pretty thick. And we got the congregation to go in the fellowship hall, and they lined up, and I gave one per family. Had all kind of information on how to get out of debt, showed you how to do it. And I mean, that thing was as thick as this Bible. Paid for all the notes, and again, this is just an example. This isn't about me. Okay? And a lot of times, let me say this too. A lot of times, I use myself not because I'm enamored with myself. I use myself because if I say something that's embarrassing or whatever, I'm not going to get mad at me. Okay? That's the only reason I use myself. Let me say that. But I told the congregation at that time, I said, listen, you're not going to hurt my feelings if you don't want the material. The material is free. I've also given away books. And I've said, if you don't want the book, don't take it. It really won't hurt my feelings. And sometimes you just wonder, did anybody even read the material? Did anybody read the book? Did you read the book and maybe pass it on to somebody else so that they could get something out of it? See, that's what sharing is. But getting back to that notebook, and I mean, it took a lot of time, a lot of finance and everything else to put that thing together. And man, I was telling Pastor, man, if they get in there and they do any of this, people gonna get out of debt. And I'm gonna move on, but I just don't get upset with somebody if you're at a business meeting or whatever, and they charge. The reason they charge is because even in the business world, they've come to understand people only place value when they pay something for it. Even if it's not monetarily, it takes your time. Are you willing to invest your time to get better? And see, you know, I'll share this too. Contracting. Do you know there are some contractors that will not do business with a church? And guess what? Some of them are churchgoers. And some of the comments that I've heard, because I always, if they make that statement, I ask, well, why? And some of them speak up immediately, say, I have the hardest time getting my money. And saints, we know it shouldn't be that way. If you have it in the back of your mind, I'm going to ask you to get this thought out of your mind. The best things in life are not free. And I used to say all the time, back in the heyday, concerning the Most High, I said what? Salvation is free. Everything else is going to cost you something. And that's even dealing with the Most High. Please get it out of your mindset, out of your prayers. Don't want something for nothing. Please, that is a curse. We used to have comments like, well, I want God's price. Well, if I've got $9.95, that's the price. See, we'll go in another believer's place of business, and we won't even respect what they've got. They've priced their items based on what they've had to put out to get him in the store. And then we get to the register, and now I want God's price. You know? And so, of course, now that puts pressure on that believer, because he's like, well, okay, now I got to give them a discount. That's not right. And you know, now we don't do that. I don't think they do that much anymore. I don't know. But I remember that was something. I'm thinking back when I had my clothing store. And some of the area pastors used to come in there. And I'm not going to say a whole lot. But I don't have that store anymore. But there's some pastors, they probably not wearing those suits anymore now. But there were some pastors in this area wearing some really nice suits, and they never paid for them. So now, you know, if we have any meetings or anything, I'm getting Pastor Horge to go to the meeting. Because I don't want to see none of them jokers. And he'll do that as a favor to me. You remember some time back when certain ministries were blessing different, I still call them televangelists, Oh, brother, we just wanted to bless you today with a $25,000 donation. And some of those pastors, they were real smart. This is now, is this for me or my ministry? Let me share something with you. In some situations, that first $25,000 that was given, it went from ministry to ministry to ministry to ministry. You think $100,000 was given away. That same $25,000 was given, different places. And it probably ended up in the ministry that wrote the first $25,000 check. But that sort of thing spread all over religious TV. And so the local guys started doing the same thing. And the question would be asked, is this for the ministry or is this for me? See, when you are doing things like that, that's deceptive, folks. That's deceptive. And a lot of us are probably still listening to some of these people that have participated in this thing. Having wealth, being able to take care of your family, and being able to help somebody in your community, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. A poor man that oppresses the poor is like a sweeping rain which leaveth no food. They that forsake the law praise the wicked, but such as keep the law contend with them. Evil men understand not judgment, but they that seek the Lord understand all things. Better is the poor that walketh in his uprightness than he that is perverse in his ways, though he be rich. Let me touch on that particular verse right there. Let's read it again. Better is the poor that walketh in his uprightness than he that is perverse in his ways, though he be rich. Now, what the author is saying here is that the rich guy is perverse in his ways, and they're inferring that he got his riches by doing something crooked. But that may not be the case. I have said to you in times past, when it comes to wealth, some of these guys seem to just have a problem. Even for those that are, really entrenched in what we call the Newer Testament, but for you Torah scholars, the Brit Hadashah. If Yeshua didn't have something, what did he need a treasurer for? And I know that somebody read it, but the scripture said that foxes have their holes, but the Son of Man don't have no way to lay his head. Oh, please. Everywhere he went, he could make himself at home. Let me say that again. Everywhere he went, he could make himself at home. I know. Render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's. They had to pay taxes. They had to pay taxes. Rich and poor alike. Even the Most High say, hey, We've been taught, don't come before him empty-handed. Get something. And some preachers would joke and say, well, hey, if you ain't got no money, reach in your neighbor's pocketbook. Get something out there. And many of you remember in Sunday school, what you get, 50 cents or 25 cents or something, you know. And if if I got 50 cents and I dropped a quarter, I say, oh my God, God's money go, Daddy. Because I'm going to keep my quarter. I guess none of you, I'll confess, sometimes I would save half of that money. I'm going to get me a tasty cake or something after church. Yeah, I did. I did that. Oh boy! All right, let me go on a little further. God, this is getting away from me. Well, I'm gonna take my time with this, but I'm not gonna take up your time. I appreciate you being here, and I'm gonna be obedient to the clock. Better is the poor that walketh in his uprightness than he that is perverse in his ways, though he be rich. Whoso keepeth the law is a wise son, but he that is a companion of riotous men shameth his father. He that by usury and unjust gain increaseth his substance, he shall gather it for him that will pity the poor. He that turneth away his ear from hearing the law, even his prayer shall be abomination. Whoso causeth the righteous to go astray in an evil way, he shall fall himself into his own pit, but the upright shall have good things in possession. The rich man is wise in his own conceit, but the poor that hath understanding searches him out. How about the rich that have understanding? You see, rich and poor, the Most High made them all. Let me say that again. The Most High made rich people too. You think he loved them any less? Or you think he only wants the ones that's down here? Lord, I'm having such a hard time. He loved them. Barry, you want some money? Yes, Lord. Go to work. Well, wait a minute. Can't you cause the birds to drop something in my hand? I read in the Bible somewhere you did that for somebody. Can't you do that for me? And most of us are at an age now where we're starting to realize what's more precious than a whole lot of wealth is your health. You know, guys, listen, let's cut to the chase. You need to be able to support yourself. Now, I would not advise you to spend all day, night and day, I got to make the money, I got to make the money, I got to make the money. Well, money is not the only thing. But I tell you, particularly here in the United States, you need air and you need finances. Because if you don't have air, you're going to die. And if you don't have finances, you're going to wish you was dead. But I'm not here telling you, okay, work 90 hours a week. You'll kill yourself. Don't be in pursuit for wealth just to have more toys than the next person. But if your family got a need or your friend got a need, then go to work and help them meet the need if you love them. You know, we learn love is an action. Love's not just, you make my liver quiver. I mean, that's part of it, but that's not all it is. Oh, just to look at that precious face. Yeah, well, try a month not bringing no check home and see how precious that face looked then. You know, most of us that were married, that may not be married now, you don't think money came up? I'm not saying that's the only reason, but I bet finances was somewhere in the conversation. And divorce among believers is just as high as those that don't call on nothing. And see, you not only got to obtain the wealth, now you got to learn how to preserve it and know when to use it. See, because there are also people that are spending their time waiting to try to do you out of your hard work. See, everybody know every 2 weeks, you either get paid every 2 weeks, you get paid once a month, you get paid on the 15th and the 30th. And you getting up every morning, getting ready to head on out, fellas standing on the corner. I remember when we used to carry papers. And that's when you had a little book and you collect and you tear that thing off and give it to the people. And them guys, man, all week, they laughing at us. We carrying papers. But when it was time to collect, get that money, then they want us to give them the money. And I was so glad, my oldest brother now, you're not going to get his money. And if I'm with him, you ain't going to get my money either. But I learned to eat young. Other people will watch you work, not offer to help you, but how many of you done had, well, y'all been to 7-Eleven, you can't even go in the 7-Eleven. Yo, man, let me hold something. You got a little change, got a little change. And most of you real nice people, you just, well, hey, here you go. And there's nothing wrong with that, because particularly if you've been led to do that, all right, give up something. Your pocket's fat, give them something. You do that. But how many of you ever had a situation, and don't raise your hands, where you went over and beyond because you really thought you were helping somebody, only to find out you didn't get the whole story? See, some people, this is how some church folk are. Because we all know how the world do. I mean, you ready for anything with the world. But with church folk, we let our guard down. And here's what they do. Here's what a person will do. Because they don't want to lie to you. But what's the difference? If I decide I'm not going to pay my house note this month, and I'm going to get Greg and Donnie and Rashad, We going out, man. We gonna have a good time. We ain't gonna get in no trouble, but it's on me. We gonna just have a good time. We going out to eat. And they'll be saying, man, that Barry, man, he's all right. Now, I come to church, and I said, John, can I talk to you for a minute? Yeah, sure, Barry. What? Look, man, man, you know, stuff been happening, man, and man, my house note due, and I ain't got it. He said, well, John, I said, well, look, man, it's going to go one of two ways. Either John will say, I'll help you, or John will say, if he's wise, look, I'm going to get back with you. Let me talk to Mary. Because, you know, house note might be $1,500, two grand or whatever. So I'm not talking about $20. And you say, no church people would ask you for that kind of money. Yes, they would. Yes, they would. Yes, they would. And see, I didn't lie to John, but I didn't tell him the whole story. Because if he was like me, I said, wait a minute, hold on. You took who? You took Donnie, you took Rashad, you took Greg. Where was my invite? So then again, me, well then why don't you go to Donnie, Rashad, and Greg and get your house note? See, we shouldn't do that to one another. We shouldn't do that to one another. But it's because of the way we've been taught about wealth and the way that the scriptures read, it almost makes you think people that's got money, oh, they got it by ill-gotten gains. And I'm telling you, not everybody that's rich cheated. Not everybody. I don't want to read no more of that. I don't want to. Let's give an ear. I'm hoping that by the time I'm through with this, some of your minds may change about money. And again, I am not telling you to be in pursuit of wealth, because there is a scripture that says if you run after money, and I'm paraphrasing, if you run after money, money runs from you. But guess what? Not only money, whatever you running after, it's going to move away from you. And sometimes that even includes people. Oh, boy. Now, that's another lesson. Give an ear. The wicked flee when no one pursues them, but the righteous, like lions, feel sure of themselves. Now, here it says they feel sure of themselves. Well, that sounds like they kind of arrogant. Folks, that's another thing. Please learn the different words have different meanings. Arrogance and confidence are not the same thing. Please. He kind of cocky. Maybe not. And maybe his cockiness is not in him, but in the one that made him. How about looking at it that way? A land which transgresses is punished by having many rulers. Will we get a president every 4 years or whatever? Or we vote? A land which transgresses is punished by having many rulers. But with a man of understanding and knowledge, stability is prolonged. Stability is prolonged. Stability is prolonged. A poor man who oppresses the weak is like a downpour that sweeps away all the food. Let me read that again. A poor man who oppresses the weak is like a downpour that sweeps away all the food. Listen to this one. Those who abandon Torah praise the wicked, but those who keep Torah fight them. Evil people don't understand justice, but those who seek Yah understand everything. I've shared with you before, when we have been wronged, and we were wronged by somebody that either we don't know well or whatever, most of us, the first thing, I want justice. But if it's a loved one of yours, you want mercy. So what that might tell us all is, even if you feel like you want justice, you better say, well, have mercy. And I know that's not easy to say, because some people do some really horrific things. And I'm not talking about where you're in a situation where it's going to be them or you. Let it be them. You stay here. You stick around. But particularly when we don't care for a person, I want justice. Prosecute them to the full extent of the law. And then a few months later, either your best friend or a relative or somebody in a similar situation. And then the judge will ask maybe the affected family, well, Mr. Jones, you got anything to say? You don't want him. I want him to get the full extent of the law. No, what you want to do is, well, no, if it's a young man, well, even the law will allow, they'll have some mercy, because they'll allow, if it's a youth, they'll give them a little time or whatever in a detention center or whatever, and they'll make them work to pay some type of restitution. Sometimes you can't do restitution. Sometimes you can't make it right. But sometimes you can. And I'm going to share something with you that's in line with the wanting something for nothing. Even when we have wronged one another, we often think the biggest thing and the thing that makes it okay is, well, I repented. But that's not all to it. See, I'm sorry fall short often. Well, Barry, what else can I say? You don't need to say anything. Why don't you get busy trying to do something? Better to be poor and live an honest life than be crooked in one's ways, though rich. Well, see, here again, though, to me, this is still a backhanded, listen. Better to be poor and live an honest life than be crooked in one's ways, though rich. Why are they always picking on the rich people? Better to be poor and live an honest life. Is that where we think being poor gets you closer to the Most High? You think he lives in poverty? You know, if I'm not mistaken, isn't the Creator the same one that said he wanted us to have an abundant life? I mean, so how do we... Better to be poor and live an honest life. Well, that's true. Than be crooked in one's ways, though rich. Let me ask you something, and I don't want you to answer. Just think about it. Say a person did acquire their wealth. Because they make for good movies. Now, I'll tell you, I enjoy a good movie when I can. But some of the best movies is when guys have absconded with a whole lot of money and didn't get caught. Now, I know, in church, wait a minute, hold on, you in church, you supposed to clean that thing up. Well, I'm being honest with you. Now, I didn't say I wanted in on it. But let me ask you this. Do you think that the Most High could forgive somebody that acquired wealth and they repented? And they not only repented, but the parties that they wronged, they more than repaid them? And they set up some foundation. I mean, and they steadily never forgot the dirt that they did, so much so that people would be like, look, man, that happened blase, long time ago. You done this, you done that. I mean, are you telling me because it's money, they can never repent and that they can't be with him in the end just over some money? Something to think about. But the way it's been written, like, oh man, they doomed forever. A wise son observes Torah, but a friend of those lacking restraint shames his father. He who increases his wealth by charging exorbitant interest amasses it for someone who will bestow it on the poor. I just gave you that example. The guy cheated to get his riches, and he spent the rest of his life bestowing it on the poor. Yeah, he still lived good. He still lived on Sugar Hill. He still drove whatever, and he took fancy vacations. What's the difference between his situation and mine? If a heart truly repents, and then you got the actions to back it up, will the Most High not forgive you? Or is it because he'll forgive all of that, but when it comes to money, oh no. Oh no, oh no, no, no. No, that person is forever, they just lost. No, it doesn't. But
A lot of us think, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. People that win the lottery. There have been churches that I think might have handed them people their money back. But there's some churches that took that money too. I'm telling you, when it comes to money, people act funny. Money in the hand of a righteous man is righteous money. Money in the hand of a wicked man is money in the hand of a wicked man. If he give the money to the righteous or he give it to the poor, it's not his anymore. Money is neutral. Remember that. Money is neutral. It's just it's a medium of exchange. And I'm getting ready to close. But that US dollar that we got, that may not continue to be the world reserve currency. May not. So, are they going to rewrite this? Or are they just going to attach this to whatever else they put in place with it, if that happens? And right now, a lot of the hard money is on China. I didn't mean to bring that up in the teaching, but we are talking about wealth and money. And I'm going to pick up on this the next time I have the privilege of coming before you. And I'm not going to take an offering, but I am hoping that as we begin to look deeper into this, you'll have a little different stance about finances and money, and you'll realize that it is necessary, particularly in the United States. God bless you.